The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. So, for your personal growth, I, Himanshi Kaushik, your host of the day, would like to welcome you all in today's webinar on Neuromagic for personal growth. And I hope that you all are safe, sound, happy, and healthy at wherever you're taking this webinar from. So, before we move on and learn a lot more about the personal growth and how can we have that, we have our expert here with us. So I shall introduce you to our expert. We have Dr. Preeti Valla, Professor, Mittal School of Business, lovely professional university here with us. She is a magnetic personality with over 15 years of experience and in academics and industry as well. She has received scholarships from Red Cross Bhavan and has been a part of various social and cultural activities like youth parliament and debate competitions. She is a certified happiness and mindfulness coach and has participated in various national and international faculty development program and has delivered her workshops in USA, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia as well. She has more than 30 research papers and books published under her name, and she is currently providing consultancy to different companies in marketing and organization behavior strategies. She has her aspirations in continuous learning and dissemination of knowledge in business management area. So, ma'am, I heartily welcome you in the webinar today, and it is our pleasure to be able to hear you. And over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear. So today topic we will be talking about is neuromagic for personal growth. So as and when we talk about magic, is magic real? What do you believe? Is it real? Yes, neuromagic is real. And we have seen the magical past and how the people have grown to the destined area or their desired areas. To begin with, let me narrate a story to you. So it was once Buddha was traveling across the country. He was traveling from one place to another, preaching and giving lessons to people around. So while moving from one place to another, and when he halted to a place, he asked one of the disciple, please fetch me water, I'm very thirsty. So the disciple went to the nearby lake to get the water, but came back empty-handed. He came back empty-handed without water, and he said, Guruji, Guruji, the water is very muddied. I really believe some bullock cart must have moved from that water. That is the reason the water is very muddy. So let's move another few steps or like few meters around, and then there is another lake. But then Buddhaji said, don't worry, we will wait for here. Go and fetch the water after an hour. After an hour. Then after an hour, uh, the disciple went again and tried to get the pail of water. But then he found, yes, the water is still muddy. The water is still muddy. And then what happened? When the water was muddy, he came back empty-handed. Then again, Buddhaji said, wait for some more time. And finally, he went there for the third time and got the water that was ready to drink, that was like pure to drink. And when he came back, he sat and asked, Guruji, tell me how this magic happened. You did nothing, but how this water became pure to drink? So we all know this happened very naturally. There's a scientific reason behind it. So what is the reason? That as and when there is a turbulence in the water, the lower level of the mud that gets rotated in the water and the water becomes muddy, right? But as and when it is left untouched, it sediments down, it settles down, and the upper layer of the water is ready to drink. We all believe it, yes, because there is a simple science towards it. Similarly, now the science also says our mind work in the same manner. As and when our mind is disturbed, like the water is muddy, we cannot take the decision. We cannot think in a right and a destined manner. So what happens when our mind is disturbed? So there's a lot of turbulence and we are not able to see, direct, interpret the right things. And what happens? We are taking the wrong decisions, and these wrong decisions are making our task much more difficult. Now let's get ahead and find the exact reasons from the story of Buddha, how the things are happening in our mind too, how the magic is happening to begin with. So if I talk about sediments, the lake naturally has sediments at its bottom. The water got muddy when these sediments got mixed with water due to routine episode of that bullock cart movement. Very true, very simple. Similarly, our minds is also full of thoughts. It is full of thoughts, it is natural, and it is the mind that has the thoughts. But what happened when all the things are muddled up together, our thoughts become proactive and we are not able to have a very clear vision. We cannot wish away viscosities of our life. So the turbulence has to come in our life. Like we have the natural sediments, similarly, our mind should have a natural sediments that need to settle down and the turbulence need to be sidelined. When the water is muddy, Buddha didn't react instantly. Had Buddha reacted to the muddy water, he would have lost the chance to drink the water when we find ours or others' mind disturbed. So this happens, this becomes very natural. Sometimes our mind is disturbed, and sometimes the person we are talking to mind is disturbed. We don't have to react impulsively. Rather, if we are throwing stones in the muddy water, it is gonna get much more muddier. Right. So what we need to patiently wait and watch the magic of settling of the mind, settling of the disturbance, settling of the mud, so that it becomes clear. So when the water is muddy, it is not in a state of consumption. Similarly, when the mind is disturbed, the mind is not suitable for the usage to take decisions and give directions. So what we have to do is, even the muddiest water, we need to remember this thing, even the muddiest water gets clear over the period of time. And what we have to do, we don't have to do anything. We just have to calm our mind. Calm our mind, give our mind some space, some time, so that the things are not being cluttered up. So actually, if we look towards, the muddy water isn't the real problem. The real problem is not the muddy water. The real problem is how long we can patiently sit and settle till the water gets. So the real issue is not the external aspects, the surroundings, the issue, the environment, the other people. It is me, my own self, my own magic. How long, how patiently I can wait for this. A disturbed mind is never the real problem. The real challenge is to show patience long enough for the thoughts and the disturbance to settle down and the mind to get clear. A situation is never pleasant or unpleasant by itself. It is a state of mind that makes it. So it is a wonderful lesson that we can learn from the Buddha story that tells us what is happening is we people in this attention deficit world, we are becoming impatient and we are reacting to the situations. And whenever we are reacting, what is happening? The real information, the knowledge is not surfacing. So what is the need? The need of an art is to align our internal compass so that we can achieve our external thoughts, wishes, desires. So every individual wants to achieve something in life. Everybody has a personal aspirations. They have their personal thoughts. We want to achieve the external things, but that's not feasible if we are not aligning our internal compass. So to align that, it starts from within. It starts from within and it gets out. Let's understand this. Let's understand this, how to get the desired result. So there was a small boy. This small boy went to the person who was selling balloons. So very with curiosity, he asked, is this red balloon able to fly? Would it like go off in the air? He said, the balloon seller said, yes, definitely. He said, green one? And he said, yes. He said, then the orange one also. And the person was, yes, the orange one, the pink one, the yellow one. Every balloon can fly. And the child was very curious. And the person replied, the colors are not making it fly. It is the inner content that is making you fly. And a wonderful lesson is to be learned from this. What it says, it's not my external appearance. It's not my external appearance, what I appear, how I look, how I present myself, but it is my internal motivation, my zeal, my firing element that gives me a direction, that makes me move towards the aspect, right? So what we require, we need to fuel our own self. We need to fuel ourselves, and that fueling of our own self is what is neuromagic. What is bringing that firing to our brain to bring upon the desired action. But before that, let's understand what is mind. What is mind? Because what happens, everything starts from within. And if we start from within, we need to understand how this happens. And this happens by understanding, having a clear vision. See, we all understand till the time we introspect, we understand, we analyze and interpret the things, we may not be able to use it. Right? Similarly, if I say, what is the definition of mind? Definition of mind. This definition of mind is yet undefined. There are various researchers, scholars, scientists, psychologists who are trying to define it, but then they come up with, there is no, it is endless, it is undefined. And if we would try to define it, what would happen? It would be limited to few words, but there is a strong need to define. Because if we are not able to define it, if we are not able to understand the very definition of the word, would we be able to use it? Would we be able to use it and use it in our communication, improve it, strengthen it? To strengthen our mind, we need to understand what is mind. And to understand mind, we need to understand that mind is the process. It is a process that regulates the flow of energy and information. It is a process. Let's understand. If I pinch on your leg, would you instantly react? Definitely. Is leg your mind? If I pinch on your hand, would you instantly react? Yeah. Is it your mind? Or is it the network of the system? It is the blood capillaries. It is a system that sum up together to make the flow of energy and information so that we are able to react, respond, and answer. Similarly, we need to understand what is mind. Mind is a process that regulates the flow of energy and information. The stored energy, every individual has a specific kind of an energy and specific set of information based upon which we take our daily actions, reactions, and we design our own destiny. So first we need to understand what is mind. It is a process that regulates the flow of energy, the energy that flows from higher zone to the lower, but it tries to move from the lower to the higher in that energy flow and the information too. So if I want to strengthen my mind, I need to monitor and modify the energy and the information levels. So basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to understand what is mind. Mind is the process that enables the flow of energy and information. And now if I want to strengthen my mind, what I have to do? I have to monitor it and modify the same. So monitoring means actually analyzing, checking upon what levels we have. It is going and scanning, taking a lens and scanning our own mind, our own brain, our own body system. What is that I have in me? What makes me distinct? What is that energy levels and how I have to regulate it, enhance it, develop it so that I can move from the current level to the desired level. And that is what is my potential energy all about. Now, just imagine that you are asked to drive a car. You're asked to drive a car, but then when you're about to drive a car, your hands and your feet are tied up. Then you're asked to drive a car. Would you be able to? Would you be able to drive a car if your hands and your feet are tied up? Definitely not. Similarly, if I wish to bring a change, but I'm not doing anything for the same, would I be able to bring the change? I would never be. So the first aspect is the analysis, and the second step is to take that action. So now what we have to actually talk about to bringing the change, we have to have a connection between mind, body, and soul. Balance is very important. What I think, what I perceive, and how I act. It has to be walk when you talk idea. If I'm talking something and I'm walking in an opposite direction, I would never reach the goal. Whatever I am preaching, I should practice the same. Whatever I am preaching, I should practice the same. Whatever I have a desire, I should move in that direction. I cannot keep a desire in my heart and move in an opposite direction and assume that it would bring the results. It would never bring the results. So now what we have to do is we have to align our internal compass, internal thoughts, internal feelings, internal attitude, internal processes, so that it directs my body to move in a particular direction so that my potential is achieved. So this is very important. This is very important. Like we always say, imagine if a bird doesn't know that it has wings to fly. Just imagine we have a bird and it doesn't know that its wings are used to, or its wings can be used to make it soar high. What the bird would have to feel. Just analyze what the bird would be feeling. The bird would be feeling, oh my goodness, why these heavy stuff onto my body, and it makes me so difficult to walk. But as and when we realize our internal potential, as and when the bird realizes its internal potential, it flaps its wings and it takes a soar in the sky. What happens? It sees, oh my goodness, I had such hidden power and I'm not using it. Similarly, as and when we are able to understand what my soul is calling, what my mind is saying, and I'm directing it to my body, I can achieve wonders. I can actually achieve the magical state. So if I have to put it into words, the soul inspires what we should do, like the driver who decides where we want to. So what is that? The inspiration comes from the soul. The inspiration comes from my internal aspect. We sometimes talks about it as a prefrontal lobe. We will be talking from the Dan Seniel's model. What is this prefrontal and what is this, how the brain structure actually works upon. So the brain inspires what we should do, like the driver who decides where he wants to. The mind takes that inspiration. The mind takes that inspiration and finds its way to achieve the soul's goal. That is a steering wheel. I direct the steering wheel towards left, towards right, towards like a straight. So what I have to do is I have to take the inspiration that is within me, that is not outside me. I have to align it with my internal compass. And I have to give the directions to my mind that acts as a steering wheel. And then finally, my body is performing the work in the desired destination so that we can achieve the goal that we have. So we need to look after the mechanics of all our bodies, treating them as well as the maintained car, as we have to do, as we have to maintain a well-maintained car, right? So this is what is mindset. Mindset, a beautiful concept. A beautiful concept of mindsets. Mindset says it is a process. It is a process being able to see the mental activity with more clarity and then modifying more efficacy, modifying it with more efficacy. It is mindset. Now, let me put it in a very easier manner. Till the time we are analyzing a process and we are not finding the faults, would we be able to achieve the desired level? We would never be. So what we have to do is we have to continuously scan it. We have to continuously check it so that it is moving in a direct direction. Similarly, what is mindset? Mindset is a process of actually looking into our own mind, checking upon the own clarity, checking upon the own aspiration, desires, thought processes. It is an activity that brings more clarity and modify with more efficacy. So as and when I'm able to view the things, I would be able to direct it, monitor it, modify it. But if I'm not giving time to my own self, I'm just like pushing upon the things without getting the direction, the result is not clear. The result is not clear, right? Just imagine that you're reaching to a university gate and like somewhere as 5,000 students, they are just pushing themselves in the university and they don't know what is the direction. They're not aware, are they going to do the something into law or something into engineering or something into management or something into humanities? What is happening? They just are the raw potential that would never be defined up. To define that raw potential, what we have to do is we have to check upon the mindset. And the mindset says that we need to able to check upon the mental activity with more clarity and modify it to bring more efficacy. So this is mindset. So mindset is a concept by Daniel Siegel, who actually came up with the handy model of the brain. So if we can check upon with the like rounded fist, what exactly is it? It talks about the handy model of our brain. It talks about that all the spinal cord that connects to our brain, that connects the brain stem. It carries all the information from all the parts of the body, all the information through that nervous system, the neuron system, and collects into the brain. That this brain is a central part that gives direction, that gives information, that have a hidden things. So if I talk about the brain stem, it is carrying all the information process. As and when we move towards the upper part that we call like beneath the skull, we have prefrontal lobe. What is this prefrontal? Aspect, a very individualized human aspect of prefrontal lobe that distinguish it from the entire animals. What it is a prefrontal lobe, and that helps in to simulation. It helps us to presume the things, check upon what we want, what we have. It is a control center for empathy. It is a control center of giving us directions. It is a center where we are checking upon more profound and abstract aspects, like for example for the freedom, like for example the thought processes, the lifestyle. All that comes from the prefrontal lobe. All that comes from the prefrontal lobe. Let me give you an example here. So I was going through through a written document, and over there was a aspect of a mindset. And what they said that there was a girl who was brought to a psychologist, who was brought to a therapist, a very young girl. So this young girl was very normal, but she never used to intermingle with her classmates. Never used to talk, never used to respond to the teachers, the parents and the teachers were very worried because she used to be a very bright student, and all of a sudden she was quiet. So the therapist kept on checking upon the things, and she used to answer, and then the things were getting normal. But during one of the sessions, she said that I wish my mother was the same as she used to be. My mother was the same as she used to be. See, what was there? She was thinking, it was her prefrontal lobe that was trying to assume that how her mother should be. So when asked, when inquired, they analyzed that her mother actually met with an accident. And what happened during her accident? She had a strong smash on the prefrontal lobe, and this prefrontal lobe is something that carries like that aspect, abstract things. So, however, she was able to survive, but what was happening? She lost all her charm, all her energy, all her activity. And while interviewing, the lady said that I do everything, but she feels like she has lost her soul. So when you're lost, is your soul is lost, your purpose is lost. What happened? You are just doing the things mindlessly. To bring that mindfulness in, what we need ourselves to explain what is abstract, what is profound, what energy levels I can put in. So I need to understand as and when I'm moving from my backside of my brain, my backside of my brain is receiving all the external information, all the information that is being carried, that is being fed from the external aspect, and that goes into the prefrontal. Prefrontal is more complex, that gives meaning to it. We give meaning, we give purpose, we give the very us into that thought process. That is a reason why we say for every aspect, there is an individuality involved. When we give our own individuality, we give our own thoughts, our new features, that makes it creative, that makes it personalized. So what is that? That is mindset. The mindset helps us to actually transform. It helps us to analyze what are we, what we want to become. So as and when the things are clear, we can always energize, exercise, and put the aspect and grow to the further aspects. We need to understand, unlike our body has a specific dimensions. Our mind doesn't have. We can extend, stretch, enlarge our mind, our thoughts, as much nourishment as we are giving to it. So when our mind changes, our brain changes too. This is a wonderful aspect that talks about neuroplasticity, that talks about people learn, people grow, and people change. So as and when we are able to give meaning, we are able to define the purpose. That's the reason why we started with this session, defining mind. As and when we are able to define the aspects, we are able to give meaning and direction to our own selves. So as and when we are able to change our mind, we are able to control it, we are able to direct it, we are able to monitor it through mindset. We would be able to modify it accordingly. So this is how we have seen. We have seen number of times a student who was not performing well, after the counseling sessions, they have done wonderful tasks. Right, we have seen as due to sudden change or certain parenting style or certain classmates impact, students have changed a lot and they have moved from the level 1 of their performance to level 10 of their performance. Why it happens? It happens because our mind has a strong capacity, our mind has a strong potential of understanding, accepting, and expanding to its utmost capabilities. That is a reason, if we talk about Elon Musk, he has been diversifying his activities in the numerous fields, and that's possible because our mind changes, our brain changes too. So if we have to check upon the connection between mind and brain. So what exactly is brain? Brain is a collection of a lot of neurons. It has more than 1 billion neurons, and they all come up together. And then there is a space between two axons and dendrites, and then there are neurotransmitters that enable to transmit the message from one neuron to another. So this is happening. This is happening now. If we have to just check the brain structure, if we check upon the brain structure, talks about that it is made up of numerous of the neurons, and these neurons are interrelated. So now if I have to check upon and say that what exactly is it? It is the relationship. It is the relationship that is between two neurons that create that spark and that enables a person to process an activity. So when neurons fire together, they wire together. So what happens? Like, for example, how the wiring is done. The wiring is done when we are in a process of doing an activity. Like, for example, I am having a food for the very first time. So what happens? The neurons fire. They would fire up and check upon, which all food articles are there in the food. Oh, it is green. It must be something associated with the salad. And it is red. It must be chili. It must be bell pepper. Oh, so what is that? That is the little information, that is the cognition that is stored in my mind, that sparks up. And then when this sparks up, frame a network, it gives me a direction and then gives me an information. Right. So when that information is being processed and I'm doing that same over the period of time, it goes and settles in my mind. It goes and settles in my mind, and this is called as wiring of my mind. So when neurons fire together, they wire. So mental activity creates neural structure, mental activity, that it creates the neural structure. As a result, even the fleeting thoughts, like what we call as emotions are the valence. They keep on floating. They are like valence electrons. They keep on floating. They have their own thoughts. Sometimes they have a strong valence energy. Sometimes they don't have. As a result, even the fleeting thoughts and feelings can have a lasting impression onto our brain, like the spring shower have onto our little trails of the hillside. So they have an impact. So what we need to understand is the mind. What is mind? It is a flow of energy and knowledge. That flow of energy and knowledge, when moves from one to another neuron, it is in the brain and it is giving the direction, and that is based upon the relationship That is based upon the relationship. So neuroscience of personal growth says that there are certain experiences cause new connection to form or strengthen, making the brain smarter by literally rewiring it. So how we can make our brain smarter? It is just through a spark of understanding what is a new perspective. Am I ready to change, adopt, skill, upgrade my skills? See, there is one as fixed mindset and one is as changing mindset or a growth mindset. Fixed mindset says that I have a particular capacity and I won't be able to change, right? So if I'm not able to learn tables, I would never be able to learn tables. If I'm not able to memorize the card numbers or like telephone numbers, or I'm not able to perform a bending during my aerobics, I would never be able to. But then there is a growth mindset. The growth mindset says, if I continue to practice, I would be able to achieve anything. If I continue to practice, why? So now what is happening as per the Dane Senial's this handy model of brain? So the external information, you cannot do it or you can do it. It is going to my back area of my brain. But my prefrontal aspect that gives actual meaning to the things, sometimes it is called as a soul as well of a book, that gives meaning. Oh, I can do it. Oh, it might be hard, but I would definitely be able to do it. So when that energy is flowing from me and it is being floated across my body, what happens is every body part is able to put itself together and move to the next level. So certain experiences causes new connections to become, to form or strengthen, and making the brain smarter by literally rewiring it. So let's take an example, very simple examples. The experiment was actually done. So experiment was done. There were like two cages and one cage. So that it was a rat cage, was rat cage. So in one cage, the rats were given food and they were given nothing else to do. So it was a cage where the food was given time to time and the rats used to have them at sleep and then do whatever they want to, but there was nothing associated. In the other cage, the rat used to get food after doing a series of activities, after going through a specific area, after leaning into the area, then sidelining itself. So there were like little twists and turns. And that twists and turns used to change after a week. So what happened? Every time this rat used to move from a particular direction, there was a rewiring then done and a new connection was created. Then again, the new wiring was created, new directions were given, the new directions were created, the new wiring was done. So it actually strengthened the rat brain and it was having a huge, it was having comparatively bigger in size and comparatively number of neurons and number of wiring together bigger. So that exemplified exactly the human brain capacity is ever increasing. It just depends how much target, how much diverse activities we are performing. Let's take an example from a human. Hi, ma'am. I think it was disconnected.
Yeah, no issues, ma'am. We can
Yeah.
present it. We can present it again.
Right. So let's take an example from here. So if we take the driving test at the London has seen the most difficult driving test ever, because the roads, the houses, the network of the things that has been created in London is way to understand from a human mind. And to clear the test, the person has to go through all the networks of roads and the areas and the particular directions that has to be connected. And it takes them a lot of weeks. So there was a scan done for all the drivers, all the experienced drivers of London. And they find out, because they have exercised the highest levels of their brain information and knowledge. So the brain structure is comparatively much more wider, with the capacity to take risk, to acknowledge the things and give abstract meanings as well. So what I said, we need to understand that Personal growth is achieved when one is using their personal talent and potential. So how the personal growth can be achieved? The personal growth is only achieved if that is starting from internal we, it is not from external. It can be any parents, it can be any family member, it can be any teacher who is pushing a person to move towards a particular direction. But the result is not gonna come up until and unless there is an internal awakening. So personal growth is achieved when one is using their personal talents and potential. The purpose of learning is growth, and our minds, unlike our bodies, can continue growing as we continue to live. Most important, our minds continue to grow, unlike our bodies, till the time we are alive. So growth is the only evidence of life. Personal growth is what? What is personal growth? Personal growth is enhancing a skill set, adding upon a little more knowledge, adding a new habit, starting with a behavior. Like, for example, if I talk about my own self, what is my personal growth? Personal growth can be getting up early in the morning, going for a walk, having an extra session, learning new developed skills, training the people around, and might be what is a personal growth for a child who is like 10 years old. That can be learning a new language, scoring well, coming up with a creative manner, performing onto the stage. So what is personal growth? Personal growth, as the word suggests, it is very personal to an individual thoughts and processes. One's growth is not associated to another, because what is personal growth? Personal growth says that the competition is not with the person who's by my side, because I am a different individual than the person who's by my side, might be my classmate, might be my colleague. But personal growth is where I was, where I am, and where I would like to see myself. Am I in a direction of reaching the point where I want to see myself? So for that, what I have to do is I have to put extra energy, extra efforts to move into that direction. So personal development allows us to reach our full potential, be our best self, and be the happiest and the most successful. So what is personal growth? Personal growth is what is that helps us to move to the next level. Like, for example, now let's very quickly analyze what is the neuromagic of personal growth. What is magic? Magic, as we learned in the Buddha story, the mind settles itself, and when it settles, it is able to take the direction. So now we need to understand that when a mind is being continuously bombarded with all that information through all our sense organs. See, our all sense organs have an army of soldiers who are bringing information and feeding it to brain. And every point it is doing the same. And we know when our brain is super exhausted, we are not able to sleep. Unlike our body, when we are very tired physically, we will go off to sleep. But when my brain is very active, might be my body is stressed, but I would never be able to sleep. That is the reason if I say about anxiety, anger, and that chronic illness, the first thing is being sleep deprived, being overthinking. Why this overthinking happens? Because our mind is continuously working. So what I have to do is I have to silence my brain. I have to make my brain silent and go stand still. Go stand still and understand that the real essence of living is living it. It is not about the competition. It is not about the pressure. It is about how we are giving ourselves time, space, and energy. And then we have to take one step at a time. Analyze what is my strength, what is my weakness, and then one by one. So personal development starts when I analyze for my own self. It is not that somebody analyzing and telling me, somebody directing me. No, I have to take the steering wheel of my own life in my own hands. When I've given it to somebody else, I become a robot. I'm a puppet in their hands. But if I want to grow, if I want to strengthen my own self, what I have to do, I have to take that steering wheel back in my hands so that I can be onto the driver's seat of my life. So I need to understand this thing as well, that whatever flows in, whatever flows through my mind, it sculpts my brain. So we can use our mind to change our brain for better. We can use our brain, our mind to change our brain for better, which will benefit our whole being and every other person whose life we can touch. So this is what is the real essence of magic. The very magical things can summon somebody, can be summon our own self. Let's bring a change in our own self as someone. And with that dedication, remember that Harry Potter. So when in his initial years, he was learning to do magic. The first thing was the potential to handle and give command to the van. Right? It was first was the potential with all your mind energy and information you're gonna summon it. Similarly, what is neuromagic? Neuromagic is again, it's about ordering, it is about summoning our own mind towards growth, towards movement in a direction where we want. And it starts with the mind. If my mind wants to bring a change, it would bring the change in the brain. So then my body has to work, it has to create the work. So whatever flows in my mind says, yes, I'm ready to take the next challenge. My brain would work upon it. My mind says, oh, what is the need to move on to the road that is difficult? Let me take a very easy. What would happen? I may not be able to strengthen my mind. I may not be able to strengthen my mind and sculpt my brain. So what I have to do is I have to actually check upon what is my own desires. So when I am able to understand my own desires, the neuromagic happens, because what happens, it is magical to see myself moving in a direction. It is magical to see myself achieving what I want to become. But this only happens when we are moving out of the autopilot phase to a very conscious response. What is autopilot? Autopilot is something that is very routine, doing the same aspect regularly, and then we are not flowing our energy and information. It is the same sequence, and we have become onto an autopilot mode. But then we are taking a challenge where I am being conscious onto every stage. When I'm becoming conscious, I'm becoming mindful of every small activity, of every small action, and that has become like a circle of my life. It's every day I am becoming mindful. What happens? It increases my prefrontal aspect, and that prefrontal aspect that helps in, for example, social intelligence. It helps us into emotional intelligence. It helps us to understand the abstract things and come up with the profound reasoning for the same. So what happens is it enables me to be mindful. The only one thing, if we can teach our young generation, that is, whenever a message has been sent to your brain, if we can take a pause before giving a response, what would happen? 90% of the crime rate would be reduced. 90% of the anger would get vanished up. And 90% of the people would start moving towards the success ratio. So what happens, we need to understand empathy, that is the prefrontal aspect of the code that brings us that feeling. That can be the core for the social and emotional intelligence. And when I say that this prefrontal, that makes humans as humans, that is very a humanistic mind. We from last 2,000 years, we have evolved. And the most important aspect of our evolving is being into social circle. Being into, we are just animals, but being a little much more socialized. So what is socialized? That we take the people, we are an open system, we are not a closed system. The difference between an open system and the closed system is closed system doesn't take the commands from the outer world. But we being an open system, we take the commands from the outer world and work accordingly. But if we do not know how to balance between what all commands to be taken and what not to be taken, what would happen? If I keep on taking all the commands and dumping my brain, there would be no clarity, there would be brain fog. And what would happen? I would able to do the things the way I desire. See, the maximum of the crimes that occur in a spur of the moment. If I talk of the suicide rates, if I talk about the crimes, if I talk about killings, if I talk about anger that comes in the spur of the moment. But if we mindfully are able to train our mind to take a second gap between information and the reaction, what would happen? We would change the way, the very framework of the human existence. So now the neuromagic of personal growth says it starts from within. It starts from within of analyzing what I want. It is about the mind side. I need to check what exactly I'm thinking upon, what I have to move, and how I have to take the actions. So if I have to very quickly run through the examples of the personal growth, is the example of personal growth is it helps us to become more productive at work. So what is personal growth? Personal growth is analyzing our own self and then working in a direction. So it helps us to become more productive. It helps us in developing the emotional intelligence of expressing the healthy feelings, healthy. So whatever, if I'm angry, see, we are so used to not giving names to our emotions or not accepting our emotion. And what happens when we put that negativity into a bottle up, it stirs and then it blasts. What if we know how to settle our negativity at the spur of the moment? So what would happen? That bomb material is not created and there is no explosion. And we have seen the explosions like every day the news are filled up. And this is according to the new policy, the education policies, that now the emotional intelligence, the mental well-being, and these happiness and emotional studies has to be put upon. Why? Because humans are actually forgetting the humanity. They are leaving, they are not becoming human beings, they are becoming human doings. They are doing the things, but they're not being, they're not living, they're not expressing, they're not living their own lives. So now to take the control of our own life into our own hands and to lead a healthier life, have better relationship, and having an art of public speaking, new skills, boost our self-confidence, and investing properly, become self-aware, and how to respond to the situations and circumstances, and to live with the inner peace and joy. What we need to do is we have to summon our own self for the magic that is within us. Summon our own self for the magic that is within our own self, and take the steering wheel of our own life and put ourselves into direction. So this brings me towards the end of the session, and this is where we can connect up.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we go on and take up the queries of the question, students, I would like to thank you for coming in here, for your time, for giving this insightful presentation, and yet very informative, of course. So, ma'am, there was this one request that came from a student, Mustafizur, and he just wants you to repeat autopilot and conscious once again. So, could you please do it for Mustafizur?
Okay. So yeah, surely. What is autopilot state of life? Like, for example, now we put our vehicles onto an autopilot state. So what is happening is that sometimes even the planes are onto autopilot. That means they are gonna fly in the same direction at the same level, same things. Sometimes when we continually repeat the same things, our brain do not charge the action. Like for example, as and when I get up in the morning, the first thing is I will search for my slippers, go direct to the washroom, brush my teeth, and come back. And what happens then? I'm always in a hurry to reach my campus, right? So all the things that I am doing, that is like mindlessly, I'm just performing the things. We have seen numerous of the people when they're sitting in a company of 10 people, but mindlessly they're using their own mobile. Somebody is talking to them and they're not even like they might be listening, but they are like tapping their hands on things. That is what is an autopilot state. Autopilot state says that our mind directs us towards the things that we have practiced numerous of the time. Like for example, when we say all the athletes, all the sports person, they are perfect in one body action, because they have practiced it so numerous of the time, that they become habitual of the same thing, and they make it no difference. Oh, this was very easy. What made it easy is the continuation of that same thing. But sometimes when we are in a continuous state of being angry, being sad, doing the things but not understanding what the aspect is, so our mind is not becoming.
Thank you, ma'am. And I hope, Mustafa sir, you have got what you wanted. That is the autopilot and conscious theory that you wanted to learn. So I hope. Okay, so I before we go on with the questions, I would like to ask any other question. If you have attendees, you can post in the chat box, Q&A box, or you can raise your hand so that you can have a direct chat session with our expert here. So, ma'am, before we go to the questions, I'd like to thank you again for repeating the topic. And the way of explanation is again, I mean, it is usually very, very good. And then today it was again, you know, mind blowing. All those words are short enough, to express the way that you explained the presentation. So, thank you so much, ma'am. And I would just take up the questions if you permit.
Please, ma'am, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, this question came from Kristen Sequeria. And it says, hello, ma'am. This was my interview question. So it read only like this. What was three most cherished personal values in person?
So, such a profound question, and I really believe it is very personalized. What is my value may not be your value. So, what is the most important? Sometimes the questions that are asked very easily, like, for example, define mind, define happiness, define your value system. They have a greatest of the hidden meanings that actually forms your foundation. What is the value? Value means the core, the essence of your living. What is the essence of my living? The essence of my living is it can be to nourish my own self. It can be giving back to the community. It can be spreading happiness. It can be doing my work in 100% efforts. So that value system is actually what defines me. I'm not defined by being particular. I'm defined by the work I'm carrying on, the activities that define me. Like, for example, if somebody is coming regularly to the office half an hour earlier. So what is that? Is it consistency and dedication? Is it like being regular? So what happens? We tap that things. That becomes the value system. The essence of our living is the value system. So it is very like personalized questions. We need to have a very profound thought onto the same. What makes me me? That is what is my value system.
Thank you, ma'am. And Kristen, I think it all depends on the perspectives, what perspective you have towards a certain thing, and that I think would give you a better answer on the what values you can, personal values you have that you cherish. So, with this, ma'am, we'll move forward to our second question that has come from Princey Gupta, and it is again, I think, it is again something that's not going to be. Okay, let's just take this question. How do we find skills that we need to improve?
How do we find skills that with again? I would really say, and this is the most important. This is the beginning of the journey when we are able to ask the right questions and then able to find the solutions. What happens? We are moving from level 1 to level 2. So that search of yours of finding a skill set means that you are in a direction. You have started the journey of the person. Now, what you have to do is you have to actually find your own core. What I want to become, what I want to be known for. What is my essence of existence? See, everybody has their own personality. Some says that I want to be prime minister, and some says that I want to be a homemaker. Yeah. Some says that I should have a lot of money, and some says it's not the money, it's my mental peace. We have seen the brain drain also, and the reverse brain drain as well. We have seen the people so educated, they have left everything and they are living into into very rural and primitive areas. What is that? That is what exactly is I have to search my own self. The area you want to develop yourself, is it into IT? Is it into your professional growth? It is into your personal growth. Might be you want to nurture a relationship. For example, I would take just two examples. One is like professional and another is personal. So for example, for the professional, you are saying that now the people have moved towards AI. They are working towards chat GTP and they are working upon the simulations and all that. Start going for those sessions. online, offline, understanding, enhance your skill, learn. There is no magic. There is no magic. Like, for example, in a class, one student is coming up with the answers and others is not coming up. The one student who is coming up with the answer doesn't have a magic that God came in his dreams and answered everything. No, we need to understand that happened because he studied for himself. He had a view towards it. He wrote something, he read something. So this is from the professional aspect. Now from the personal aspect, I want to nurture a relationship. So I don't have to be the person first. The first thing is I have to step out of the relation, be the third person, and try to put myself in the shoes of both the people who want to nurture their relationship. We always say, is it like a between the spouse fight, or it is between parenting issues? As and when I keep on being a parent, I will not be able to come up with a solution. As and when I step aside and see that child as a young adult, not a child whom I want to control and direct, the fighting would end up. Similarly, between husband and wife, till the time I am in a role, I am occupying the role of a wife or a sister or a brother or a mother, I would not be able to judge or see the perspective the individual is carrying. So I have to come out of it. Again, anything that I nurture would grow. If I nurture my positivity, my positive direction, I would have a full garden. See, so there's a very simple thing. Like when I was young, I used to run after butterflies. When I was young, I used to run after butterflies. But when I grew up, I understood I don't have to run. I just have to create a garden and butterflies would come being attracted towards me. So what it starts with my own self-development. Hope the question is clear.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. And I think with the way you were explaining about this garden and butterfly, I just remember this dialogue from Three Idiots. Amir Khan says, "आप मेहनत करो." I think सब पढ़ाई करो and then पैसा झक मार के आपके पास आएगा. I think it is correlated with that only. So you work on your skills and
exactly, very true.
yeah, and like whatever skills you want to maybe inquire yourself, imbibe yourself in, and then that would help you in growth of your personality. And with this, ma'am, we have last question came from Vash Nigam, and it says, how do we de-stress ourselves for personal growth?
So first thing is to de-stress ourselves, we should actually see that wires which are stressing me. So what is that? We are a network of wires, the network of informations that is being received from external and the internal things. So is it a person who comes up and stresses you? Us? Is it a situation? Is it a aspect? Or it is what? With what I have fixed my anchors with. My anchors are the reason of my stress. Now, we should be very clear, like it was during pandemic as well. It was informed that people should not watch a lot of television because we as a human mind are prone to this second-hand stress. So whenever we are company of the people who do not want to like sharpen their potential, work upon the same, they come up with the stories. Oh my goodness, I'm very stressed. There's a lot of work. Oh, I have to work very hard, and still the answers is not clear. So the first thing is let's detach ourselves. Let's cut those anchors that is flowing and that is bringing me that stress. So first is like if I cut myself and I position myself intentionally in a company of the people, situations, or the surroundings. It is sometimes sitting in a garden and bringing you like knowledge and learning very easily. Sometimes it is getting up early in the morning that makes you actually learn the things. So what I have to do is I have to check upon the situations, right, that brings me positivity, which brings me negativity, and then start ducting and cutting. And now the most important thing is to de-stress myself. As I said, that the muddied water becomes clear by giving it rest. The wonderful aspect is mindfulness. Go ahead with the breathing exercises. We sometimes say, what is the first lesson of life? First lesson of life is the breathing. It starts with our birth and it ends on to our death. So, and this breathing changes with our every emotion. I breathe fast, I breathe slow, I am afraid, I am running. So what is saying? The breathing is changing. If I want to calm my brain, I have to actually start my breathing exercise. I have to take a very longer breath and think nothing, so that that space is given to my brain, to my mind, to put the things in the stack, in the order, and bring that clarity. Like we always say, if I want to check a personality of an individual, open the cupboard of an individual. The more clothes they are disturbed and they are put here and there, and more older clothes they are, we are sticking to the old things. Now, if I want to come up with the fresh, I have to be minimalist. I don't have to carry that baggages. I have to be minimalist and very focused. So to de-stress myself, I have to take both actions. First is very carefully crafting my own spaces on direction, and second is detaching those things and come ahead with the mindful exercises.
इससे I just remember one thing, yoga se hoga. So do yoga, do pranayams, and then be happy. And when this one question came from Sonia, Sonia Arora, and it says, "What, ma'am, what is mindfulness? Is it living in the present moment?"
It is living moment to moment. It is living. See, past is something that we cannot change. Future is we cannot alter. If I am living moment to moment, like for example, if I talk about the same aspect, which is the happiest moment of life. Like for example, it's for me when my elder daughter was, and if somebody asked me what color of clothes you were wearing, how much makeup was there on your face, were you looking beautiful? What you had in the morning, it doesn't even matter. What matters is, was I 100% in that moment? Like sometimes sitting with the family and just sitting on the floor and just having fun makes you the bestest time of your life. That means what? It is not the things, the material. It is my connection and involvement in the present moment. If I am whole and complete in the current moment, that makes me meaningful. And it is a practice. I would really say, dear, start practicing, starts coming up with 3 minutes. 3 minutes of exercising it. Like go with your senses for 3 minutes. Think what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, what is your sense organs. Three things that comes up. Start with a little practice and you will develop for being mindful over the period of time.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. And with this, I think we are left with no questions. And again, I would want to thank you for giving and explaining and resolving queries of our participants. Uh, Ma'am, okay, last question. Yes, Sonia, you can ask your question, no issues. Yeah, please ask. If you want, we can allow you to talk also if you want. Okay, when this question came from Sonia and it says, ma'am, how to overcome the fear of starting something new? Means pushing your limits, coming out of the comfort zone.
Right. Right, I got it. And this is a beautiful question. So it makes me refer to Sam Daniel, who talked about the brain structure from the hand. Imagine such a complex thing as a brain, and the scientist, this neuroscientist, the psychologist made it so easy by just the movement of the hand. I can tell you that this is a brainstem, this is my outer skull, this is my prefrontal, and this is my cortex area, and this is my limbic area. Near that limbic area, we have amygdala. Amygdala, that is a structure, being like structure, that is actually the fear regulator. So I am not going towards the scientific terms for the same things, but if I want to say, I want to cut that fear out of it, so what I have to do is I have to start living the way that fear is going to. I have to, unless I would go myself deep into the water, I would go learn swimming. I cannot sit here and say, oh, you have to move your arm this way and then your feet this way and you would learn swimming. Similarly for the driving. The first thing is we have to take challenges. See, that's a reason why we say it is our brain that doesn't allow. As and when we become very fixed mindset, we are, oh, I cannot do it. Oh, I cannot do it. And then I would never be able to do it. When we have the growth mindset, we would be able to do the things. There are new examples. There are examples like 80 years old lady started running and she's running and she's very healthy. Then they started doing yoga. And then there are kids who are at the age of 7, they are giving speeches. So there is nothing in age. There is nothing in aspect. What exactly is it? My fear factor. If I would not try once, and if I fail, if I have a fear, what the people are gonna say, I would never be able to do it. See, the people are gonna say anything every time. So what I have to do is I just have to see what I would talk about myself when I would grow up. I never challenged myself. I never grew. I never lived my life. So living my life is being what I want to, being what I aspire to. So this is what even like we say, even in the religious scriptures, we have seen that every god and goddesses, they are coming up with this blessing hand. This blessing hand says, "Jo mange thakar apne se sohi de de." It says, whatever you would utter, that would be given to you. If I say I cannot do it, okay, you cannot do it. If I say I can do it, okay, you can do it. If I say I'm the best, okay, you are the best. If I say, oh, I'm the worst person on the life, whatever you utter would give directions. You give direction of your own way. So what I have to do is, first thing is I have to say, oh, might be it is difficult. It is difficult for the first time. Second time it is okay. The third time it's very easy. So I have to challenge myself.
Definitely. And Sonia, ma'am, Sonia says thank you. Thank you so much for this insightful session. Sonia says thank you. And Sonia, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना, just do not fear of people. Do whatever you want to do. You may fail, but you may gain the experience as well, and you might use that experience somewhere maybe. Okay, Mustafiz also says thank you, ma'am. So I think we're done with the questions now. If you have any other questions, we have all the time. You can just write the questions in the chat box or Q&A box. And if not, then ma'am, may I take permission to tell them about the admission process and how
Right, ma'am.
admission queries?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, so participants, now since you're happy, I think you would be paying a lot more attention to this, how you can take admission and what all the process is going to be. So it's very simple. You simply just need to use this site, that is lpu.in in the browser. And once you put in this site, this will be the interface that will be coming in front of you. Now, since we're catering admission queries, so simply go to the admissions here and there will be a whole lot of segregated programs that will be shown. You can see after 12th, after graduation, after post-graduation, after 10th diploma, etc. So they're very beautifully adjusted here. And I am going to take an example of, let's say you are a 12th passed out student and wants to take part in a regular program, right? So simply go to regular program. And once you click on that, there will be a whole lot of disciplines that would be visible to you. You can see here all the disciplines. You can see engineering, management, law, commerce, economics, architecture, planning, etc. I mean, you name any of the discipline and we have it here. So now you can give me any name if you want to know a particular discipline or particular course. I'm waiting for the course. I mean, if you want to. Okay, then because okay, let's just take an example of the management here. So once I simply click on any of the discipline, there will be all the courses or programs that are available under that particular discipline are available here. You can see under that management discipline, I clicked on management and these are the courses that are available. So you click on any of the course, let's say I click on this course and all the details of the course are available. You see all these highlighted points will be going and telling you about this in next 1 minute. So program details gives you the eligibility that here it shows 50% aggregate marks in 10+2, that is your 12th, and English should have been your subject. Okay, and there are other categories also, you need to explore this. Now highlight option gives you all the highlights of the course, like what all researches, what all conferences, what all placements, what all students are achieving here, what all rankings does the university have, all the things related to the course is given here. Now curriculum part is basically where you know what you will be getting taught in the next 3 years of your course or 4 years of your course. So whatever topics you will be studying is already given in the curriculum portion. Now is the most important part, fee. So you see that once you click on the fee, this is 80,000 per semester. But again, we get a lot of scholarships, and we have 3 slabs of scholarship. And based on that, you can avail up to 38% program fee waiver, and your fee can be reduced to 49,600 per semester. Okay, so you need to just check whether in which category you fall in, and these are the requirements for you to be able to get the scholarship. Now we have other scholarships as well. So you can see we have financial aid and scholarships based on the entrepreneur projects, or if you are a board topper. Now is simple, the last date, and this is 10th June. So I think it's just one day now. I would urge you and request you to kindly fill in the form, start applying for the course and the test, because after that you might not be able to get your favorite course. Now is that how you can apply is simply click on apply now options. You will be asked some bare minimum requirements, and after that, once you click on submit, you will be given your dashboard, and from there you can simply apply to the course or the test. Right now, I hope that I've given you a brief as to how you can take and how you can apply for a course, and where you need to go, and how you need to check the details and the requirements of the particular course or the eligibility, let's say. So I have given you all the brief. If I could not address anything, either you may write in the chat box, or you can schedule a call. You can WhatsApp us or have a live video counseling session as well with us. But last not the least is the numbers of our counselors here. These are the numbers which you may write it down somewhere or take a screenshot. You can call on them. Our esteemed counselors will be here to provide their assistance. Now is another thing that I would be showing you is our webinar page. I will be posting this link also. This is our webinar page. We have webinars coming up every day here. You can just explore this site and apply or register for the webinars in which you have a field you want to take knowledge of, and these are all free, so you can just apply for the webinar here. Now I hope that I've given you an idea of how you can just okay. I'm posting the link in the chat box. You can just explore the site here. Also, I have given you a link and I will be repeating. I will be just sending it again. This is the link that you can use if you would want to, if you do not want to call. So you simply click on the link that I've given just now, and you will be connected to the counselor, and hence you can resolve the queries that you have. And now with this, I would be asking permission from all the participants, of course, and from our expert, Prati ma'am. Can I wrap this webinar up? Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you, ma'am, for coming in, for giving your time, your experience, your knowledge to all the participants. And thank you so much to all the participants, of course, for being here with us for this long hour now, more than an hour now. And all the questions that you've given are really, really appreciated. So until next webinar, stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you so much for joining in.